Motivation? Well, let me tell you a little bit about motivation. Oh, by the way, your goal in aviation is 0 accidents, 0 tolerance. And that has to be my goal when I take a 747 out on the line and go fly it around the world someplace. 0 accidents. We can't do with 70%. That won't work in our business. You can take an FAA written exam, 70% passes. But if you bring back 7 out of 10 airplanes that you're issued, that ain't gonna work. And you know, I've had people fight me on this concept. Over the years, I've been saying for years, 0 accidents, 0 accidents. People say that's impossible because of the human element and because of mechanical failure and material failure. And we're always going to have accidents. Well, okay then. What is the number that you would accept in your state unit in terms of accidents for 2003? What's the number? It's got to be 0. You cannot sit and tell me, well, we'd take 3. Ha! We did it. 3. No. It's got to be 0. At least shoot for that. You got to have a goal, and the goal better be 0. Okay? And I'll fight you on it. Now then, discipline. We talked about. Motivation comes in different packages, positive and negative. Today in our society, it's almost all negative. No stopping, no turning, no speeding, no spitting, no... You never see a sign that says, go 80 right now. Please. Wouldn't it be nice in your environment if somebody that you respect occasionally stopped by and said, you know, it sure is good to see that you're still doing the same professional job you've always done. How much did that cost? How long did that take? How effective is that? Tremendously effective. Didn't cost anything. It took 3 seconds. I just think we need to be a little more positive. Every paper is full of negative. If we could just be a little more positive, just kind of try that a little bit. Now let me tell you about negative motivation, how that works. About 3 days after I got my commercial pilot certificate at age 18, the local FBO down in Jackson, Mississippi called me up and he said, I got a flying job for you on Saturday. I said, yes, this is it. My first step in professional aviation, I get paid instead of having to pay to go fly airplanes. He said, be out here Saturday morning about 6 o'clock, and I did, and I was out there earlier than that, and there he was with a brand new Cessna 182, taking the seats out of that thing. Had the door off of it on the right-hand side. Fortunately, he left me a seat. And I said, is this some kind of cargo operation? He said, well, yeah, sort of. He said, you're going to go over that little grass strip over there, and you're going to haul skydivers all day long. I said, but I never did that. He said, not to worry, they got a fellow over there called the jump master. He'll tell you everything you need to know. I said, but I never did that before. Did you ever try to communicate to someone that you need some help on this project? And the answer generally was, just do it. Okay. And he said, well, I tell you what, they're going to pay you twice your normal hourly rate. I said, $4 an hour? I'll do it. Bunch of prostitutes. That's aviators for you. Anyway, I took off and flew over and landed in that little grass strip. I never even got the engine shut down. Here comes this fellow waddling over there, got parachutes all over him, football helmet, big old combat boots, and a pair of bubble glasses. I know he couldn't see through them. They're all scratched up. Anyway, he flops on the floor in the back of the airplane. I remember this exactly like it was yesterday. He flops on that floor, and he kind of looked up at me. I couldn't see his eyes through all that stuff. And he says, hi, I am the jump master. I said, hi, I am the pilot. We got an identity crisis going here. Don't you hate it? You go to that fancy restaurant and the fellow walks up and says, hello, I'm Lynn, I'll be the waiter. Well, hello, I'm Jerry, I'll be the customer. Let's get that straight right now. Let's don't have any confusion. Anyway, he says, up. I said, that's my job. Roar. Off we went. He leans up and does this. 5,500. Yes, I can do that. And it was real noisy, you know, and he got up there and we leveled off, and he kind of got up next to me. He said, in just a minute, I'm going to get out and stand on that wheel and hang on that strut, and you watch for my signals straight ahead, left, right, and watch close, because when I do this, that means I want you to chop the power, and I'm going to jump off the airplane. I said, that's not my fault, but I can do it. So we got to 5,500, got to the jump zone. He stepped out on that wheel, and he was gone. I said, man, these skydivers is quick. I never saw the, I know I never saw the, what the heck, $4 an hour, man. I pulled the power back and spiraled down. I didn't know a thing about thermal shocking an engine at the time. It wasn't my airplane anyway. Well, anyway, I managed to land in that field again. I never even got the engine shut down. Here he comes again, snapping on another parachute. He flops on the floor. He says, up. I said, that's my job. Roar, off we went. On the way up, I said, 5,500, I got you. Leveled off at 5,500, he crawls over to the door. He got one leg out. It's sort of like old Columbo. You know, he got one leg out, and then he turned around and said, oh, just one other thing. He said, this time, before I step out on that wheel, I want you to hold the toe brakes. I told him I never did this before. We got a communication problem. I said, I'm pretty sharp. My learning curve is unbelievable. It's a straight line. I said, I got them brakes. I catch on. He said, prove it to me. So I leaned back about as far as I could, and he ducked his head over there and looked under the panel and checked to see I had my feet on them brakes. He raised up, switched off the mags, pulled the key, and departed the airplane. Talk about your paybacks. Talk about your learning curve. Tell you about a learning curve. You go flying with me today, you ain't gonna believe where I got keys on me. That ain't gonna happen to me but one time. Now I'm faced with my very first real-life emergency, dead stick. Boy, and it was textbook. I was right over the field. I just spiraled down. It worked out perfect, and I flopped down the field, got the engine stopped this time. Here he comes again, snapping on another parachute, got another fella with him. They flop on the floor in the back. He said, this here's John. He's going for his very first skydive. I said, that's not my fault. He said, up. I said, that's my job. Where's my keys? Roar, off we go. He leans up. I said, I know, 5,500. On the way up, he's reading on John his rights or whatever they tell him. I don't know. We get close to the jump zone. He leaned up. He said, I'm fixing to put old John out on that wheel. Does that mean anything to you? I said, yes, sir, it does. Get my feet on the toe brakes. Get my hand on the key. He talked old John getting on that wheel. He's hanging on the strut. We got the jump zone. Jump master leaned out and says, go, old John. He tugged on his sleeve. He says, go, John. Now, friends, I recognized right then this is going to be one of my trickiest landings ever. Jump master finally looked at me and said, John don't want to go. I said, well, he's going. For I know a trick. Well, I just took my feet off them toe brakes. Now, you talk about your motivation. Oh, it was negative motivation, but it'll make you do things. John was so motivated, he stayed with us for 15 seconds just running on that wheel. I mean, spinning that wheel back, smoke coming out of the bearings on that wheel. And it was a pure study in psychology just looking at his facial expressions. It's like, if I get back in there, I'm going to hurt somebody. And the last 5 seconds was more like, oh, come on, fellas. And he went away, made a nice jump. So much for negative motivation. We get a lot of it, but, you know, positive is better if you can make it work out in your life. Now, let me tell you a little bit about